Hi guys, we've been working on assembling parts of a robot or creating assemblies of parts for robots, and last week you made the outer wheel and the center wheel. When I did the recording last week, I did not make the center wheel, so I've just made it. I made a mistake and I want to share that with you so you can learn from my mistakes instead of your own mistakes. So first of all, I hid the outer wheel because I didn't want it to confuse me, so I moved it off to the side and I hid it by clicking this eye. You can also see that it shows up as a component. So I'll get to that in a minute. So I created the center wheel, and you can see all the parts here. What I forgot to do when I started was to start with a new component. And what I'm discovering is that creates a big headache. So I probably won't do that again. I've read about that too. So let me show you why it's kind of messed up. So if I create a new component, and I'm going to call it center wheel. And actually the first time I tried this, I said from empty component. And I'll show you what that looks like if I do that. So I get a center wheel component, and then I could drag all of these in. And then I thought it was hunky-dory. But what happened was, if I right-click on this to move it, you can see that all the move pivot controls are over at the origin, which makes it really undesirable because you want to be able to move. And true, I could move the pivot. I mean, I could set the pivot this way to move it. Whoops. Set the pivot and then move it. But it just causes a headache because there's an offset between the component folder and the parts inside. So I'm going to click cancel, and then I'm going to undo, and then I'm going to remove this component. Okay, so I'm back to the problem I had. Let's see what happens if we go to new component from bodies. And then it looks like it's not letting me. Maybe I can select it that way. Yeah, it's not letting me do that because these actually aren't bodies, they're components. So I'm going to cancel again. And what I'm going to try to do is I made these, I don't think I went over this in the first video, but when I finished this build, I right-clicked and I made it a rigid component, a rigid group. And so even if I only right-click and select the wheel and to move the wheel, the whole thing moves because it's a rigid group. So I'm going to go to the top. I'm going to try to center this. That's what I'm going to try to do. So let me look at the front. But I want it on the ground. Okay. So, and I'll go back to home. So I'm going to go through the process of an empty component again. I think it's going to be good enough. So new component, I'm going to go empty again. I'm going to call it center wheel. And I'm going to click OK. I get my center wheel component. It's remembering my old center wheel component. And I'm going to drag these in. I'm going to capture the new position. Now let's see what happens if I right-click and move. Well, the handles are closer, so it was a good job that I stopped and set the thing at the origin before making it a component. But the biggest lesson is to, what is the biggest lesson? Oh, to always make your component before you start putting parts in and assembling them. That was a big mistake on my part, and I think it's gonna work okay with what I just did. I'd really like to rename this, but I'll leave it as is for now. So the other thing I want to happen, which happened with the outer wheel component, you can see that I can pull in an outer wheel now because it's a component. Whoops, let me push it back so it's not overlapping at the origin. And so now if I unhide my first outer wheel, you can see I actually have two outer wheels here. So this is the one I just dragged in. This is the one I originally built. So the cool thing is, since the outer wheel is over here, saved as its own assembly on the outside, so to speak, I can actually delete both of my outer wheels. And it doesn't, I'm safe from doing that because I still have the assembly out here. Oops, it always likes to put itself at the origin. So I can just move it over and my outer wheel is still here. I'm going to remove it again. Or delete it again. Okay, so I need to get my center wheel as an element, as a, an assembly out there too. So I'm going to right click right there on the component folder name and go export. I'm going to change this to a step. I want to get rid of that. Hopefully it will let me. I don't want it on my computer. I want it there. I don't know why that's not happening. Huh. Maybe I have to put it there and bring it in. So I'm going to click export. Maybe that's what I did the first time and forgot. So if I go to upload, oh, cancel. It came in. I think I'm being impatient. I don't think it's fully loaded yet. But that's just some stuff I learned that I wanted to show you since it was fresh on my mind. So I hope that helps.